Welcome, brave souls, to a journey through the world's most haunted places. Are you ready to face the unknown? We're not just peeking behind the curtain, we're ripping it down to confront the chilling realities that lurk in the shadows of our world. These aren't mere ghost stories whispered around a campfire. These are locations saturated with centuries of pain, anguish, and violent death. Places where the veil between our existence and the spirit realm is terrifyingly thin, almost transparent. We're about to explore the raw, undeniable energy that clings to these sites, the intelligent entities that refuse to move on, and the dark histories that fuel their unending torment. For years, my life has been a relentless pursuit of the paranormal, a quest to understand the echoes of lives cut short, the residual torment that stains these ancient walls, and the intelligent spirits that actively seek to communicate, or sometimes, to terrify. Now I'm taking you with me, deep into the heart of 10 of the most active, most documented, and most profoundly disturbing haunted locations on this planet. These are places where the past bleeds into the present, where disembodied voices carry on chilling conversations in empty rooms, and where the very air crackles with an undeniable spiritual presence, a presence that can be felt, sometimes seen, and often recorded. This investigation is not for the faint of heart. We are about to venture into the epicenters of paranormal phenomena, into buildings where every dark corner could conceal an entity, where sudden cold spots signal an unseen presence, and where the silence is often shattered by unexplained noises or terrifying apparitions. We will delve into the historical tragedies that have forever marked these places, examine the compelling eyewitness accounts, and confront the sheer, unadulterated fear that these locations evoke in all who dare to enter. So steel your nerves, open your minds, and prepare yourselves. The darkness is calling, and it has stories to share, stories that will linger long after the screen goes dark. The Tower of London. Just the name itself sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it? For nearly 1,000 years, these formidable stone walls have stood as a grim sentinel on the banks of the Thames, a silent, brooding witness to a millennium of English history, much of it drenched in blood, betrayal, and unimaginable suffering. This isn't just a historic castle, it's a fortress that has served as a royal palace, an armory, a treasury, and most infamously a state prison from which few souls ever found true release. The sheer weight of human emotion, fear, despair, agony, has seeped into the very fabric of this place, creating an atmosphere so thick with sorrow you can almost taste it. The energy here is ancient, powerful, and deeply, deeply disturbed. Think of the sheer number of lives that met their tragic end within these confines. Kings, queens, traitors, and martyrs, their final moments played out against this stark, unforgiving backdrop. We're talking about centuries of political intrigue, brutal executions, and secret murders. The infamous Traitor's Gate, for instance, saw countless prisoners pass through, knowing they were unlikely to ever see the outside world again. The Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula, a seemingly peaceful place of worship, is actually the final resting place for some of the tower's most famous executed figures, their bodies unceremoniously buried beneath its cold stone floor. The ground itself feels saturated with the final, desperate pleas of the condemned. And with such a dark and bloody history, is it any wonder that the tower is considered one of the most haunted places in England, if not the world? The spectral residents here are legendary. Perhaps the most famous is Anne Boleyn, one of Henry VIII's ill-fated wives, beheaded on Tower Green in 1536. Her ghostly figure, sometimes carrying her own severed head, has been reported wandering the corridors and near the site of her execution, a sorrowful apparition forever trapped in her final moments of betrayal. Then there are the princes in the tower. Young Edward V and his brother Richard, believed to have been murdered here in 1483. Their small, terrified apparitions have been seen, hand in hand, their ghostly cries echoing through the bloody tower. The reports from staff and visitors are relentless, painting a vivid picture of a place teeming with paranormal activity. Guards on lonely night patrols have spoken of inexplicable cold spots, the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes, and the distinct sound of disembodied footsteps echoing on the ancient cobblestones. Security cameras have allegedly captured shadowy figures moving through locked sections of the tower, only to find no living person present upon investigation. The White Tower, the oldest part of the fortress, is said to be particularly active. with reports of a white lady who sometimes waves to groups of schoolchildren, her presence often accompanied by an overpowering cheap perfume. Ultimately, the Tower of London is more than just a collection of old buildings, it's a massive, stone-clad battery of human suffering. The residual energy left behind by centuries of intense emotion, pain, and violent death is almost overwhelming. You can feel it pressing in on you, a cold, heavy blanket of despair. These aren't just stories. These are the echoes of real lives, real tragedies, and their spirits, whether intelligent or residual, seem to be forever bound to this iconic yet terrifying historical landmark. The tower doesn't just hold history, it holds souls, and they are desperate to make their presence known. Now, we journey across the Atlantic to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to a place that was designed to break the human spirit, Eastern State Penitentiary. When it opened in 1829, it was a marvel of its time, the most expensive public structure ever built, based on a radical new philosophy of penal reform, solitary confinement. The idea was that isolation would lead to penitence, but for many, it led to madness, despair, and a slow, agonizing decay of the soul. Imagine, years spent in a stone cell with no human contact, just the echoing silence and your own fracturing thoughts. The sheer psychological torment inflicted here is unimaginable, and it has left an indelible scar on this decaying fortress of suffering. The imposing Gothic architecture itself seems designed to intimidate, to crush any hope from those who entered its gates. Its long, barrel-vaulted cell blocks radiate from a central hub, like the spokes of a cruel wheel, ensuring constant surveillance and complete isolation. For over 140 years, thousands of inmates, including infamous figures like Al Capone and Slick Willie Sutton, endured the harsh realities of life and sometimes death within these crumbling walls. The tales of brutality, riots, and the sheer misery of daily existence are woven into the very mortar of this place. The air still feels heavy with the residue of that suffering, a chilling testament to a failed experiment in human reformation. Abandoned since 1971, Eastern State now stands in a state of preserved ruin, its paint peeling, its cells empty but for the ghosts of its past. And those ghosts are incredibly active. Investigators, staff, and countless visitors have reported a barrage of paranormal phenomena. Cell Block 12 is notorious for disembodied maniacal laughter, while Cell Block 6 is known for shadowy figures darting between cells. Cell Block 4 is another hotspot, where people often report seeing ghostly faces and hearing whispers. The sheer volume of unexplained occurrences here is staggering, making it a prime location for anyone seeking proof of the afterlife, or perhaps, proof of how deeply trauma can imprint itself upon a location. One of the most frequently reported apparitions is that of a shadowy figure seen in the guard tower watching over the empty prison yard. Others have heard the distinct sounds of cell doors clanging shut when no one is near, footsteps pacing in empty corridors, and mournful wails echoing from the depths of the solitary confinement cells, known chillingly as the Hole. People have reported being touched, pushed, or overcome with sudden, inexplicable feelings of intense sadness, anger, or dread. EVPs captured here often reveal guttural moans, clear voices speaking names, or even direct, chilling responses to investigators' questions. Eastern State Penitentiary is not just a haunted prison, it's a monument to human despair. The prolonged isolation and psychological torture endured by its inmates have created a potent cocktail of negative energy that continues to fuel the paranormal activity today. It's as if the walls themselves absorbed the anguish and are now slowly releasing it back into the world. To walk these decaying corridors is to walk through a living tomb where the spirits of those who suffered and died here are still very much present, their stories etched in the silence, their torment palpable in the cold, oppressive air. This place is a stark reminder that some prisons hold their inmates long after their sentences are served, even beyond death. Next, we set sail for Long Beach, California, where a majestic ocean liner, the RMS Queen Mary, is permanently docked, serving now as a hotel and tourist attraction. But this grand old lady of the sea holds a dark and turbulent past beneath her polished decks and elegant ballrooms. Launched in 1936, she was the epitome of luxury travel, but her glamorous career was interrupted by World War II, when she was stripped of her finery and converted into a troop ship, nicknamed the Grey Ghost for her camouflaged paint and incredible speed, often carrying up to 15,000 soldiers at a time, far beyond her intended capacity. It was during these perilous wartime voyages and throughout her long service that the Queen Mary accumulated a tragic legacy of death. The sheer number of documented deaths aboard the Queen Mary is staggering, at least 49 confirmed during her service and likely many more unrecorded. These include accidental drownings, fatal accidents in the engine room, murders, and even suicides. During her time as a troop ship, she was involved in a horrific collision with one of her escort ships, the HMS Curaçao, slicing it in two and sending hundreds of British sailors to a watery grave. The Queen Mary was under strict orders not to stop for survivors due to U-boat threats, a decision that undoubtedly haunts her to this day. The weight of these lost souls, combined with the everyday tragedies of a ship that was essentially a floating city, has created an environment ripe for paranormal activity. Today, the Queen Mary is renowned as one of the most haunted locations in America, if not the world. The reports are diverse and deeply unsettling, coming from guests, staff, and paranormal investigators alike. The first-class swimming pool is a notorious hotspot, believed to be haunted by the spirits of several individuals who drowned there, including a young girl named Jackie. Wet footprints often appear on the dry deck, and disembodied giggles or splashes are heard when the pool is empty. Stateroom B-340 is so active that it was eventually closed to the public for many years, with guests reporting everything from lights turning on and off, to covers being ripped from their beds and faucets running on their own. The ship's engine room, a vast labyrinthine space deep within her hull, is another area of intense paranormal focus. It was here that a young crewman named John Petter was tragically crushed to death by Door 13 during a routine drill in 1966. His spirit is said to still roam this area, often seen as a figure in overalls, and sometimes interacting with tour groups or investigators. The ship's propellers, now visible from an underwater viewing area, are also associated with chilling tales, particularly relating to the Curaçao disaster. People report hearing screams, cries for help, and the overwhelming feeling of dread when near this part of the ship. The Queen Mary is a truly unique haunted location. It's a vessel that has witnessed opulence, wartime horror, and countless human dramas. The spirits aboard seem to be a mix of former passengers, crew members, and perhaps even those whose lives were tragically cut short by her passage. From the playful spirits of children in the nursery to the more tormented souls in the lower decks, the ship is a microcosm of life and death. To walk her decks is to step back in time, but also to step into a world where the departed still make their presence known, their spectral forms forever sailing on an eternal ghostly voyage. Our next stop takes us high into the Rocky Mountains of Estes Park, Colorado, to a grand, isolated hotel that exudes an old-world charm but harbors a chilling secret: the Stanley Hotel. This iconic establishment, opened in 1909 by Freeland Oscar Stanley, the inventor of the Stanley steamer automobile, is not just famous for its stunning views and historic architecture, it's infamous for inspiring one of the most terrifying horror novels and films of all time, Stephen King's The Shining. King and his wife Tabitha stayed here in 1974 in room 217, and their unsettling experiences provided the fertile ground for his masterpiece of psychological horror. The Stanley's paranormal reputation, however, predates King's visit. From its earliest days, guests and staff have reported strange occurrences. The original owners, F.O. Stanley and his wife Flora, are said to be among the most active spirits, still overseeing their beloved hotel. Flora's ethereal piano playing is often heard drifting from the grand ballroom when no one is there, and F.O. himself has been sighted in the lobby and the billiard room, a distinguished spectral host. Their presence is often described as benevolent, a comforting reminder of the hotel's founders, but they are far from the only entities said to roam these historic halls. Room 217, where Stephen King had his fateful stay, remains a major paranormal hotspot. It's believed to be haunted by Elizabeth Wilson, a former chief housekeeper who was injured in an explosion in that room in 1911. She's said to be a rather particular spirit, disapproving of unmarried couples sharing the room, and has been known to unpack guests' luggage, turn lights on and off, or create cold spots. Other rooms like 401, 407, and 428 also have reputations for ghostly activity, including the sounds of children playing in the hallways when none are present, objects moving on their own, and apparitions appearing and disappearing. The concert hall, a separate building on the property, is another focal point for the unexplained. Many report hearing phantom applause, laughter, or music. The spirit of a former handyman named Paul is said to frequent this area, sometimes responding to requests to turn lights on or off, or making his presence known with disembodied footsteps and shuffling sounds. Even the underground tunnels, originally used by staff to move discreetly through the hotel, are said to be haunted, with reports of shadowy figures and unnerving sensations. The sheer variety of reported phenomena suggests that the Stanley is home to multiple spirits, each with their own story and reasons for lingering. The Stanley Hotel's isolated location, nestled high in the mountains, seems to amplify its eerie atmosphere. It's a place where the grandeur of a bygone era meets the unsettling presence of the unknown. Whether it's the spirits of its founders, former employees, or long-departed guests, something definitely lingers within these walls. Stephen King may have fictionalized its horrors, but the real paranormal activity at the Stanley continues to draw thrill-seekers and investigators, all hoping to catch a glimpse of what truly inspired The Shining, and perhaps experience a touch of the supernatural for themselves. The energy here is palpable, a mix of elegance and unease. We now descend into a place of profound sadness and immense suffering, Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. Built in the early 20th century to combat the White Plague tuberculosis, this sprawling Gothic structure witnessed unimaginable horrors. In an era before effective antibiotics, a diagnosis of TB was often a death sentence. Tens of thousands of patients passed through Waverly's doors, many of them never leaving alive. The sheer scale of death here is difficult to comprehend, with some estimates suggesting over 60,000 people perished within its walls, their bodies often removed discreetly through the infamous body chute or death tunnel to keep morale up amongst the remaining patients. The atmosphere at Waverly Hills is heavy, oppressive, and saturated with the residue of despair, pain, and fear. The building itself, now decaying and imposing, stands as a grim monument to a desperate fight against a relentless disease. Imagine the hopelessness of the patients, isolated from their families, enduring primitive and often brutal treatments, knowing their chances of survival were slim. This intense emotional trauma, repeated day after day for decades, has left an indelible psychic stain on the property. It's a place where the very walls seem to weep, and the silence is thick with unspoken stories of suffering. Paranormal activity at Waverly Hills is legendary and incredibly varied. Visitors and investigators report a wide range of phenomena, from full-bodied apparitions to disembodied voices, screams, and coughs. One of the most famous spirits is Timmy, a young boy said to have died in the sanatorium, who enjoys rolling balls back and forth with visitors in the children's ward. Shadow people are frequently seen darting down the long, dark corridors, particularly on the 4th and 5th floors, which house the most severely ill patients, and those with mental disturbances. The infamous Room 502 is said to be haunted by the spirit of a nurse who either jumped or was pushed to her death from the window, her anguished cries sometimes heard. The body chute, a 500-foot tunnel originally built for staff to access the hospital from the bottom of the hill, later became the chilling conduit for the dead. This dark, sloping passage is one of the most active areas for paranormal encounters. People report hearing unexplained noises, feeling touched by unseen hands, and seeing shadowy figures moving in the oppressive darkness. The sheer dread associated with this tunnel, knowing its grim purpose, amplifies the fear. EVPs captured here often reveal mournful sighs, whispers, and even direct warnings to leave. The energy is raw, primal, and deeply unsettling. Waverly Hills Sanatorium is not just a haunted building, it's a vast repository of human tragedy. The spirits here seem to be trapped in a cycle of their past suffering, their presence a constant reminder of the thousands who fought and lost their battle against tuberculosis. The sheer volume of reported activity, the intensity of the experiences, and the overwhelming sense of sadness make Waverly Hills one of the most compelling and terrifying paranormal locations in the world. To enter its decaying halls is to step into a place where death was a constant companion and where the echoes of that grim reality still resonate with terrifying clarity. Our journey now takes us to the heart of the American South, to St. Francisville, Louisiana, and the Myrtles Plantation. Often described as one of America's most haunted homes, this antebellum plantation, built in 1796, boasts a picturesque facade with its sweeping verandas and moss-draped oak trees. But beneath this veneer of southern charm lies a dark and violent history, filled with tales of slavery, murder, and voodoo curses. The Myrtles is a place where the beauty of the present is constantly overshadowed by the horrors of its past, and where numerous spirits are said to linger, their stories intertwined with the plantation's blood-soaked legacy. The most famous legend associated with the Myrtles is that of Chloe, an enslaved woman owned by Clark and Sarah Woodruff. The story goes that Chloe was punished for eavesdropping by having her ear cut off, and in an act of revenge, she baked a poisoned birthday cake, intending only to make the family mildly ill so she could nurse them back to health and regain favor. However, the poison proved too strong, killing Sarah Woodruff and 2 of her daughters. Chloe was then allegedly hanged by fellow slaves and her body thrown into the Mississippi River. Her spirit, often seen wearing a green turban to cover her missing ear, is said to be one of the most prominent and frequently sighted entities on the property, but Chloe is far from the only ghost said to roam the Myrtles. At least 10 murders are rumored to have occurred here, though historical documentation is scarce for some claims. William Drew Winter, a lawyer who lived at the plantation after the Civil War, was shot on the front porch by a stranger. He reportedly staggered back into the house, dying on the 17th step of the main staircase trying to reach his wife. His dying footsteps are still heard on those stairs today. Other reported apparitions include ghostly children seen playing on the veranda, a spectral woman in a black dress, and even soldiers from the Civil War era. The sheer number of alleged spirits contributes to the plantation's chilling reputation. Guests staying overnight at the Myrtles, which now operates as a bed and breakfast, frequently report a wide array of paranormal experiences. These include beds shaking violently, furniture moving on its own, unexplained handprints appearing on mirrors, particularly one infamous mirror said to trap the spirits of Sarah Woodruff and her children, and objects being thrown by unseen forces. Disembodied voices, phantom piano music, and strange odors are also commonly reported. The feeling of being watched is pervasive, and many visitors have captured anomalous images in their photographs, including the shadowy figure believed to be Chloe. The Myrtles plantation is a potent reminder that even the most beautiful settings can harbor dark secrets and restless spirits. The legacy of slavery, violence, and tragedy has deeply scarred this land and the home that stands upon it. Whether all the legends are historically accurate or not, the consistency and intensity of the paranormal claims are undeniable. The spirits of the Myrtles seem determined to make their presence known, their stories, whether of vengeance, sorrow, or unfinished business, echoing through the elegant rooms and beneath the ancient oaks, forever binding them to this beautiful, yet profoundly haunted, southern estate. Our next destination is San Jose, California, home to one of the most bizarre and architecturally baffling mansions in the world, the Winchester Mystery House. This sprawling, eccentric structure was the obsession of Sarah Winchester, widow of firearms magnate William Wirt Winchester. After the death of her infant daughter and later her husband Sarah, grief-stricken and perhaps influenced by spiritualists, came to believe she was cursed by the spirits of all those killed by Winchester rifles. A Boston medium allegedly told her that to appease these vengeful spirits and prolong her own life, she must continuously build a house for them, never ceasing construction. And so, from 1886 until her death in 1922, construction on the Winchester mansion went on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, without any master blueprint. The result is a bewildering labyrinth of a house, with 160 rooms, miles of twisting hallways, staircases that lead to ceilings, doors that open onto blank walls or sheer drops, windows in floors, and countless other oddities. Sarah believed these architectural puzzles would confuse the malevolent spirits she feared. She also reportedly held nightly seances in a special room to receive instructions from the spirits on the next day's construction plans. The house is a physical manifestation of Sarah Winchester's grief, fear, and obsession. Her immense wealth allowed this bizarre project to continue unabated for 38 years. Many of the strange features, like the recurring spiderweb motif and the obsession with the number 13, 13 bathrooms, 13 panes in many windows, 13 steps on many staircases, are believed to be part of her attempts to ward off evil or communicate with the spirit world. The sheer scale and eccentricity of the mansion are mind-boggling, creating an inherently unsettling atmosphere even before considering the ghostly legends. Naturally, a house built under such strange circumstances and dedicated to spirits is reputed to be intensely haunted. Sarah Winchester herself is said to be one of the primary spirits still wandering her confusing creation, perhaps forever tied to her lifelong project. Visitors and staff have reported seeing her apparition, often as a small, veiled woman in black, drifting through the halls or appearing in her bedroom. Other reported phenomena include disembodied footsteps, doors slamming shut on their own, cold spots, lights flickering, and the distinct sound of phantom construction, hammering and sawing, as if Sarah's ghostly workers are still on the job. The Winchester Mystery House is more than just a tourist attraction. It's a monument to one woman's profound belief in the supernatural and her desperate attempt to escape a perceived curse. The strange, illogical design creates a disorienting experience, making it easy to feel lost and uneasy. Whether the house is truly filled with the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles, or primarily haunted by the lingering energy of Sarah Winchester's own tormented psyche, the paranormal activity reported here is persistent and deeply unsettling. It stands as a testament to how fear and grief can shape not only a life but also a physical space, creating a truly unique and undeniably haunted location. We now descend deep beneath the glittering streets of Paris into a chilling subterranean realm known as the catacombs. This vast network of ancient limestone quarry tunnels, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, became an ossuary in the late 18th century. Parisian cemeteries were overflowing, posing a serious public health risk, so a decision was made to transfer the skeletal remains of millions of Parisians into these underground tunnels. Over several decades, the bones and skulls of an estimated 6 million people were meticulously and often artistically arranged along the walls of these dark, damp passages, creating a macabre empire of the dead. Walking through the catacombs is a profoundly unsettling experience. The sheer scale of it is overwhelming. Walls are lined floor to ceiling with femurs, tibias, and skulls, arranged in patterns, sometimes interspersed with plaques bearing poetic or religious inscriptions about death and mortality. The air is cool and heavy, and the silence is broken only by the drip of water and the echo of your own footsteps. Knowing that you are surrounded by the remains of millions of souls, their identities largely lost to time, creates an atmosphere of intense solemnity, and for many, profound unease. This is not just a collection of bones, it's a city of the dead, hidden beneath the living. Given its nature, it's hardly surprising that the catacombs are reputed to be one of the most haunted places in Paris. For centuries, tales have circulated of strange occurrences within these dark tunnels. Visitors have reported hearing disembodied whispers, faint cries, and even moans echoing from the deeper, unexplored sections of the network. Shadowy figures are frequently sighted flitting between the bone-lined walls, and many people experience sudden, inexplicable feelings of being touched, pushed, or watched by unseen presences. The oppressive darkness and the constant presence of human remains can play tricks on the mind, but the consistency of these reports suggests something more. There are numerous legends associated with the catacombs. One tells of Philibert Asper, a hospital doorkeeper who supposedly got lost in the labyrinthine tunnels in 1793, while searching for a mythical stash of chartreuse liqueur his body only discovered 11 years later, identified by his keys. His spirit is said to still wander the tunnels, forever lost. Others speak of phantom lights, strange mists, and the overwhelming sensation of being followed. Some areas, particularly those off the main tourist path, many of which are illegal to enter, are said to be even more active, with tales of cult activities and more aggressive spiritual encounters. The Paris catacombs are a stark and chilling reminder of our own mortality. The sheer volume of human remains, stripped of all individuality and reduced to anonymous bones, creates a powerful and deeply disturbing energy. It's a place where the veil between life and death feels practically non-existent. Whether the reported phenomena are the restless spirits of those interred here, or simply the psychological impact of being immersed in such a vast tomb, the catacombs offer a terrifying and unforgettable journey into an underground world where the dead far outnumber the living, their silent presence a constant, chilling companion. Our penultimate investigation takes us to Watton-under-Edge, Gloucestershire, England, to a building that claims to be one of the most haunted, if not the most haunted, houses in Britain, the Ancient Ram Inn. Dating back to 1145, this unassuming inn has a history steeped in dark rituals, pagan sacrifices, witchcraft, and violent death. It's believed to be built on the intersection of two ley lines, ancient pathways of spiritual energy, and also on a former pagan burial ground. This potent confluence of energies, combined with centuries of dark human activity, has allegedly turned the ancient Ram Inn into a terrifying paranormal vortex. The stories associated with this inn are truly horrific. It's said that in its early days, it housed masons and slaves who were building the nearby St. Mary's Church, and that devil worship and child sacrifice took place within its walls. The remains of children, some with daggers still embedded in them, were reportedly discovered beneath the floors. A witch was supposedly burned at the stake on the property in the 1500s, and her spirit is said to still haunt the room where she took refuge before her capture, now known as the Witch's Room. The inn also served as a hideout for criminals, and has been the site of murders and suicides over its long, dark history. The paranormal activity reported at the ancient Ram Inn is intense and often aggressive. Visitors and investigators have described being pushed, grabbed, and even thrown by unseen forces. Disembodied screams, growls, and sinister laughter are frequently heard. Full-bodied apparitions, including that of a spectral monk, a Roman centurion, and the aforementioned witch, have been witnessed. One of the most terrifying entities is said to be an incubus, or succubus, a demonic spirit that reportedly preys on guests in their beds, particularly in the bishop's room, which is considered the most active and malevolent room in the house. John Humphreys, the former owner who lived in the inn for decades until his death in 2017, chronicled countless terrifying experiences and firmly believed the house was possessed by multiple evil entities. He claimed to have been attacked numerous times and even found evidence of satanic rituals being performed. The sheer malevolence reported here is on another level compared to many haunted locations. People often leave feeling physically ill, deeply disturbed, or even with scratches and bruises they cannot explain. The energy is described as oppressive, heavy, and palpably evil. The ancient Ram Inn is not a place for the curious amateur. It's a location that seems to actively attack and drain those who enter. The confluence of ley lines, the pagan burial ground, and the centuries of dark human deeds have created a perfect storm of paranormal negativity. This isn't just a haunted house, it's a place where the veil to darker realms seems to have been torn open, allowing something truly malevolent to cross over and take root. The sheer terror it instills in those who dare to spend a night within its ancient cursed walls is a testament to its formidable and frightening reputation. Our final chilling destination is a house that needs little introduction, a name synonymous with paranormal terror. 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York, the Amityville Horror House. The story began on a horrific night in November 1974, when Ronald DeFeo Jr. brutally murdered his entire family, his parents and 4 younger siblings, as they slept in their beds. This shocking act of violence set the stage for what would become one of the most infamous and hotly debated haunting cases in American history, forever staining the otherwise unassuming Dutch colonial home with a legacy of bloodshed and fear. Just over a year later, in December 1975, George and Kathy Lutz, along with Kathy's 3 children, moved into the house, purchasing it at a significantly reduced price due to its gruesome history. They lasted only 28 days. During that short, terrifying month, the Lutz family claimed to have experienced a relentless onslaught of paranormal phenomena. These included swarms of flies in winter, inexplicable cold spots, strange odors, oozing slime on the walls, levitation, disembodied voices, physical attacks by unseen forces, and terrifying apparitions, including a demonic pig-like creature with glowing red eyes. George Lutz himself reportedly underwent disturbing personality changes, becoming angry and withdrawn. The experiences of the Lutz family were sensationalized in Jay Anson's 1977 book, The Amityville Horror, which became a bestseller, and subsequently spawned a series of blockbuster movies. While many skeptics have since challenged the veracity of the Lutz's claims, pointing to inconsistencies and potential financial motivations, the story captured the public imagination and cemented the house's reputation as a place of profound evil. The sheer intensity and malevolence of the reported activity set it apart, suggesting something far more sinister than just residual energy from the DeFeo murders. Even before the Lutzes, there were whispers of something dark associated with the land. Some theories suggest the property was once used by the Shinnecock Indians to house the sick and insane, who were left there to die, or that it was the site of dark rituals performed by an alleged Satanist named John Ketchum, who had once lived in the area. Whether these claims have any historical basis is debatable, but they add another layer to the dark mystique surrounding the house. Priests who attempted to bless the house reportedly encountered terrifying resistance, with one allegedly being slapped by an unseen hand and told to get out. Despite the controversy and skepticism, the Amityville house remains a potent symbol of paranormal horror. The DeFeo murders are an undeniable tragedy, a horrific event that undoubtedly left a dark stain on the property. Whether the subsequent claims by the Lutz family were entirely true, exaggerated, or a hoax, the house on Ocean Avenue continues to fascinate and terrify. The sheer terror they described, the demonic elements, and the rapid escalation of activity created a narrative of a house possessed by an ancient evil, a narrative that continues to resonate and chill us to the bone. It stands as a stark reminder of how real-life tragedy can birth enduring legends of supernatural terror. We've journeyed through corridors of pain, stood in rooms stained by tragedy, and listened to the whispered tales of entities trapped between worlds. From the royal agony of the Tower of London to the demonic claims of Amityville, these 10 locations represent some of the most intense paranormal hotspots on Earth. The evidence, the eyewitness accounts, and the sheer weight of history and emotion connected to these places are undeniable. These are not just buildings. They are containers of energy, imprinted with the darkest aspects of human experience and perhaps something far more ancient and inexplicable. The question that remains is not whether these places are haunted. For those who have experienced their chilling embrace, the answer is clear. The real question is what these hauntings tell us about life, death, and what lies beyond the veil. Are these spirits tormented souls seeking release, residual echoes of past events, or something else entirely, something that feeds on fear and despair? Each location offers its own terrifying clues, its own unique brand of paranormal activity, daring us to look closer, to listen harder, and to confront the unknown that resides just outside our perception. Do you dare to visit these haunted places? Have you ever had an encounter with the unexplained, a moment where the veil thinned and you felt a presence from the other side? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. The search for answers continues, and every story, every piece of evidence, brings us one step closer to understanding the profound mysteries that surround us. Until next time, stay curious and stay brave. Remember, they're always watching.